So this is the Sheeran Looper X. This 4-track looper has been quite the conversation starter in the looping community. It got announced on the 1st of March 2024, but I'm only talking about it now in May of 2025. It has some amazing features and some amazing loop modes, but the reason I need to talk about it is because after over 15 years of looping, this thing could potentially change the way I loop forever.
Life just a game that I'm a play. Meet me on the floor tonight. Show me how to roll like the water in between the dancing lights. Tonight, tonight.
Hey, what's going on? It's JP, welcome to the channel. If you've never been here before, we talk about looping. We talk about live streaming and all the tools you need as a modern musician. So if that's something you like, maybe have a look through a couple of the videos, click subscribe, hit the bell, and you'll know when the next video is out. Now, I had to write a couple of things down because the Sheeran Looper X has got loads inside it. It is Sheeran Looper's flagship looper. They brought out the Plus and now the X, and as I said in the intro, it's been out over a year. And as my channel is predominantly about looping, I've not touched it. And the reason I didn't touch it is because I was wrong. I thought, like a lot of people, it was just a rebrand and a rebirth of the Headrush looper board. You need to take that out of your head right now. In this video, I'm going to be talking about it from my experience. There's going to be timestamps underneath with chapters, so if you need to get to a specific point, obviously jump to that point, but I'd really advise that you watch all of it because it's kind of important, and it's all about the workflow and what it can do for you. Sheeran Loopers did send me the Looper X for review and also to play around with. They're not paying for this review, they're not seeing the video beforehand, and of course, as always, thoughts on my own. Now, let's get into it. I'm going to take you through a rundown of the board, but loads of people have done that already, so this won't be a massive rundown. I just want to show you where things are to get you up and running, and then I want to show you 5 cool tips and tricks, and some of those tips and tricks you can't do on any other board at all. Okay, so there's so much that this thing can do, and a lot of it is customizable as well that people don't realize. So I'm going to go over at the top. Starting on this side, we've got your inputs. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the combi jack inputs. Then we've got the main out, your headphone out, and your OGS in. It's nice to have an OGS in level, so therefore you can control it as opposed to having to control it to your phone or your tablet, whatever it is. So that's quite nice. On this side, we've got the encoder. It's color coordinated as well. So if I start looping, you can see it goes red. We'll get into looping in a minute. And if I go into overdub mode, it goes yellow, and then it goes green. If I stop it, it stops turning. It's also a clickable encoder, so we can click onto it, and this will get us into the menu, and I can dial through different things. So if I'm in, say, the mixer, and I pick the click track, for example, I can use this to move things up and down, and you can swish it to go really, really quite fast, or you can go like a little bit slower and dial in exactly what you need. Moving over to this is a touchscreen. So it's a 7-inch touchscreen. It's really bright, and it's a really responsive touchscreen as well. And it has to be, because when you're looping, you want it to be quick, and it is. It really is quick. Sheeran Loopers actually say that you can perform flawlessly night after night, gig after gig, tour after tour. And that's a really important statement. And those pedals, I've said it before in the Sheeran Looper Plus review, those pedals are the best pedals. In fact, I did a video where I was looping in just my socks, and I did that deliberately to actually prove that it's really easy to loop with. Those die-cast pedals are set at 15 degrees, and they are perfect. So for singers, guitarists, keyboard players, violinists, drummers, beatboxers, bassists, there is something for everyone with this loop pedal. The Sheeran Looper X has a couple of different play modes or loop modes, and we'll get into them a little bit later. Again, timestamps underneath. It has 7 hours of internal storage, and there is actually no limit to your recording. You can record as much as you want to for 7 hours. There's unlimited overdubs as normal now. It has what they're saying is a best-in-class I/O, and I actually tend to agree with them on this, because every input is a combi jack. You have both XLR and jack out with headphones, and there's an expression option as well. There's full 5-pin DIN MIDI, both in and out, and what Sheeran Loopers call unlimited expansion with the USB and the SD card slot. Now there's a couple of different things, starting with the main menu. The main menu is broken up into 3 sections. You've got perform, you've got setup, and then you've got system. So perform is here, setup and system, and then you've got 5 tabs going across each section. You'll see in the main menu that you've got a save button, and you've also got the internal storage. It's 5.1 gigabytes, but call it 5 gigabytes, and I've used 6.3 megabytes at the moment. Right from here, this is what's known as track view, and you've got track view, you've got the 4 tracks which correspond to the 4 loops. You've also got wave view, and wave view is something that loads of people like because you've got a visual representation, a little bit like tape or watching things go across from left to right. That's quite useful. You've also got mixer view as well, where you can adjust the mix of the loops and the click and the backing track. And no matter which one you go for, there's a couple of things that stay where they are. The first one in the top right hand corner is the save button, and in the top left hand corner is the CPU and this little sort of 9 boxes. That is your main menu. So once you're in any of these, you'll notice CPU and save are there. The other thing that happens as well, unless we're deep into a menu somewhere, the other thing in one of the performance menus, you'll see a BPM. Now this BPM is not the BPM of the loop, and I'll prove that because if I loop something real quick, the BPM is still sitting at 120. And that BPM is actually if you want to bring in things like effects, or if you're bringing in some backing, and there's some backing bits and there's some drum loops that you can bring into here, and we can change the BPM whenever you want to. Now I looped a second, actual second there, and you can see that it's looping around at a second. It shows you the timing of that. If I was to raise that, let's create a longer loop. There we go. 2.57 seconds, and that's where the loop is right now. So this is what shows you how long the loop is, but the BPM actually doesn't have anything to do with looping. Now the other side of this is actually the effects system, which is powered by Headrush, where you can choose from 9 different effects racks, and within there's 26 effect options. So you've got everything from stuff for your guitar, stuff for a bass, stuff for vocals, stuff for the studio, and there's actually a unique way to get those effects in and out. You've got almost unlimited routing, which is really clever, and it's so easy on that 7-inch touchscreen. There's really no menu diving in this one. The other one you'll see on the touchscreen on the performance parts is what kind of looping you're doing. And this is one of the big things. So at the moment you can see mine says band, but I'm actually going to click it and this will give you your 5 different loop modes. So you have multi, which is what Ed Sheeran uses, where all the loops are the same length. You've then got sync, and this is where loops can be of variable length. I prefer this against any of the other modes because it can create a really quick drum beat of like 1 bar, but then I want to do a 4 bar chorus, or I want to do a 4 bar thing. So you can do things like that. Song is where all 4 loops play independently. So you've got a verse, a chorus, a bridge, an outro, whatever you want it to be, or solo. Band is a combination of sync and song mode. So you've got 1 primary track, and then you've got 3 other tracks that play independently. So you could have a drum track, and that will carry on playing, and then you could have the other 3 as verse, chorus, and bridge. The nice thing as well is you could start with your track 3, for example, play a little bit of guitar, and then when you add the track for track 1, then track 1 is always going to be your sort of drum loop, as it were, or the loop that stays playing, which is really, really cool. The last one is free mode, where you can have ambient soundscapes, and it's completely unsynced. So let's have a look at these buttons, because these buttons are fantastic. As I said before, set at 15 degrees, they're die-cast aluminium, and you've got these 4 at the top which say track 1, 2, 3 and 4, or A, B, C and D. Then you've got record and play, stop, mode and function. So for this demonstration I've just plugged the microphone in, and as I'm talking you can see the inputs coming through, and I can adjust that accordingly here. You've got the track view there, and this is where again you can see the input. We've got the wave view, and then what you've also got is you've got mixer view. If I go 1, 2, 3, 4, you can see it's going through there. Now, I haven't got any audio coming out yet. We'll hear that in a minute. That way you can see a little bar going across. You can see it going from left to right, and it's just repeating, of course, looping. So with sync mode and band mode, you can see this little crown, because that's the main loop. That's the first loop where it's taken the BPM and figured out what it is. Now, the way you loop with this is quite different. You've got to think and remember that this is being set up with Ed Sheeran in mind. Instead of the default for most loopers, which is record and then play and then overdub, this is record, overdub and then play. So if I record something, you'll see it's gone red. If I click on this now at the right time, it goes into overdub mode straight away. Now, I have my other loopers set up like this anyway, because you can loop faster. You could maybe do a kick and a snare, beatboxing, and then go straight into adding the hi-hat without having to wait an entire revolution to go round. There's a couple of things with this loop pedal that I can't do on any other loop pedal, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. However, this workflow will definitely make you think, certainly if you're coming from something else. This has been built around Ed Sheeran's workflow, the #1 loop artist around the world, who can single-handedly sell out Wembley Stadium on his own for 4 nights in a row looping. Whether you like him or you hate him, I don't care. The fact is that you have to give credit to Ed Sheeran, because he's kind of the #1 person for looping, right? Other than myself, of course. So I've got my headphones on, I've got a microphone plugged into input #1. You can see it bouncing up and down here on the track view, and then you've also got the wave view as well. If you go to wave view, you can see it bouncing up and down just here, which is cool. And on the mixer view, again, you can see the input coming in. Now I'm going to show you between track view and wave view, and I'm going to show you how to loop with this. The way you do this is you have a track and you select a track, and you can easily see there when I select a track, a white bar goes around the outside. Plus you've got the LED showing you as well. So when you're standing up and looking down at this thing, it's so easy to figure out what track you're on. So what we do is we select a track and we can hit record. What's amazing about this is if you just select another track, it'll auto record. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to create a beatbox. It's got 3 layers on, and then I'm going to go over to track 2, but I'm not going to hit record or overdub. Once I've created the 3 layers, I'm going to go over to this one and it'll record straight away. So quite quickly, you can see how easy that is, that I can just hit record. This is what Ed does, because in multi-mode, he records the length of the track that he needs. Therefore, if the recording is armed and you go into the next track, it's exactly in the same place as the other tracks. This way you can record things really quickly, but also be really creative. So straight away, you can see in track mode, we've got 3 layers here, we've got 2 layers here. If I move this over to wave mode, you can see the waves there. Again, you can see the layers just here. Now this is a really quick loop in multi-mode, and all the loop length are the same. You'll also notice when I press the stop button, it stops everything. So how do I turn the individual loops off? Well, you don't. You go into mute mode. Let me add 2 more loops and let me show you. Okay, so we've got our 4 tracks. Let's have a listen. Now, the way we actually do this is we press the mode button and we go into mode where we're now muting. We can still play and stop. You can still record and overdub as well, but now these 4 have changed. We're no longer selecting the track to record, we're selecting it to be muted or unmuted. I'm going to take off tracks 3 and 4 like I did in the demo that you saw before. They're still playing. Press mode again and we go back into the recording mode. So I can actually go into mode, press for that, and I can still overdub as well if I really need to. But then the idea, of course, is just to mute. You can see as I press each one, this outside track doesn't change. And you can see a little speaker with a cross that means it's been muted. If you come out of mute mode, they still stay there as an indicator to show you which one is muted and which one isn't. There's also the animation of the waveform, so therefore you can see it's kind of grayed out, whereas this one's green. Let's go back in and add that one back in. Let's just have a look at this in wave mode, and you can see there you've got the speaker with the cross through it, and you've got the green to showcase that they're being played. Now I've just unmuted all of them so we can hear all of them, and the reason for this is because I wanted to show you the layers. It's showing you how many overdubs there are, and there's a reason for this, because while it's playing, if you hold down play and record, you can undo. Now with most loopers, you can undo just the last recording, but with the Looper X, you can undo every recording, and you can peel back right to the very first one. The downside of this is there's no redo, you can't put it back, but it is a really cool way of going back to basics on the song that you've just made. Now, just to show you this, I've muted tracks 2, 3, and 4. I've only got track 1 playing, which has 3 layers on it. If I hold this down, it goes 3 to 2. Let's do it again. 2 to 1. And that's it. That is the first loop that I made. You can do this with every single track, and that's really, really cool. Another quick trick I want to show you that is really handy is solo. So if you want to solo a track, instead of having to tap all 3, you can just double tap one of them, the one you want to solo. So we've got this crazy sounding JP on track 4. What I'm going to do is I'm going to double tap that to solo it. And then to get out of solo, you just press it once and everything comes back. What's really cool with that is you could be really creative with it, maybe towards the end of the loop before you go back into the chorus. Now remember, this is set up as record, dub, play. However, in the settings, you can change it to be record, play, dub. I much prefer record, dub, play. Now there's a couple of hold downs you can do. As you can see there, we've stopped and we can hold down a track to record an overdub straight away from being stopped. So straight away we're into record, and you can do that with every one of these tracks. If you hold down the stop button, you're going to clear the lot. Be aware this is finite, you can't get it back unless you've saved it. So let's erase it. Now, let go just before it counted it down. It counts down to 3, 2, 1. You see that kind of circle bounced round. But if I hold it down, they're all gone. Now the mode button I've discussed, but there's a hold down for that, and we haven't even talked about the function button yet. So the mode button actually changes over to mute, but you can change this. You can have it go to effects or even a custom layout. But if you hold it down, this actually gets you into modes, and that makes sense because instead of having to bend down and touch the screen here and change between track and wave view, which I've been doing through this entire video, What you can do is you can actually hold the mode button down. The top 4 will change the kind of looping that you're doing. So multi, we're on right now. We're going to go to sync. And now you can see at the bottom here, we're in sync mode. If I hold this down again, you've also got song and band. The only one that's missing is free. And then the bottom 3 change between track, wave, and mixer view. So I'm going to go to track view, or if I hold this down again, let's go to wave view, or if I hold it down again, let's go to mixer view. This is really handy, so you don't have to keep bending down and pressing that touchscreen if you don't want to. Now the function button, if you tap it, will give you a couple of things. Starting with the tuner, you've got effects, you can load something you've saved, you can save something, you can peel, you can clear all, just like you did when you hold this one down, or you can clear a very specific track, and then there's exit. If you notice when you click function, it says functions A. If you hold function down, you'll then get functions B. And you can do that right from the very beginning. So just hold it down and you go straight to functions B, where we've got bounce, multiply, speed, backing track, transpose, fade, reverse, and exit. Now I'm going to be doing videos about these separately because I don't want this to be a 3-hour video. So if you are wanting to learn more about this, go to the playlist. I'm going to drop every Sheeran Looper X video there. One thing to be aware of with the peel and the amount of layers is when you save a loop. Now let's go into the menu and let's say we save the loop and that's fine. And then when you load a loop back up, which I'm going to do right now, I've got a loop which was the As Is Am one, and it's got all the audio in there. So it takes a second to load it up, which it's just done. You'll notice each layer, no matter how many I put down, is now 1. You can't peel after you've recorded and saved it. Once you've saved it, it's saved as like a flat piece of audio. So therefore, it's 1 layer on each loop. So I can still obviously play each individual loop. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mute these 3. And there we go. That's working. That's fine. But then I can't then peel that away. If I hold that down, it clears it completely, so therefore it's just the last recording, so therefore it completely cleared it. Just be aware of this. Obviously, if you're saving loops and then wanting to bring them back, the best thing I would suggest is save them a bit like a skeleton recording, and then you can add the loops on live if you want to peel them off later. Going back to a brand new loop, we've kind of discussed the looping modes, but what we've also need to discuss is effects. Now there's 2 ways to do it. We can go into effects here through the touchscreen, or what you can do is you can go function, and effects is on track number 2 here, or B. So if we press B, we go into the effects system. Now there's absolutely loads of effects, but one thing you must be aware of with the effects is they are tied to the track. This is actually a good thing, because let's say on track 2 we do a bass. We've got all these different things here, and we've got edge rack, which I'll get into in a minute. You've got single effects, vocal, guitar, lo-fi, dub, drums, studio, rhythmic, and vocal tuner. Now don't disregard where it says edge rack. That's not just guitars, it's loads of different things, and I'm actually using one of them at the moment. So I'm going to tap on here. You can see it brings this system up. We're on effects number 2, it's switched on, and then I'm going to select a preset. So there's loads of different presets here, and there's ones for beatboxing, there's electric guitar, there's keys, and that's all fine. The one I'm going to use is one that's called Bass Octave 1. So if we use this right now,
So now you should be able to hear a bass effect. So we'll click done.
and I'm going to talk to you right here because this is switched on right now. So we're going to go in between this, and this is where it shows you the different parts of the effect that are switched on. So we've got an octaver, a compressor, and a 4-band EQ that are switched on. And you can tap each one, and we can change and customize each one, which is really cool. You can see the ones that are deselected. You can't change the order of these. This is just the way they are, but it's still really cool that you could have the effects built into this. You've got your main volume here. You've got octave 1, octave mix. So as I move this now, this is 100%. If I move this across now, there you go. And you just use my finger, or I can tap it, and then I can use the dial to move around. It's really, really clever. So for this effect, I want it to be 100%. I don't want octave 2 because that's actually 2 octaves down. So we'll leave that the way it is, and we're going to come out of there. And as you can see, it's actually edge rack track 2. I wish it didn't say edge rack. I wish it said bass effect, or told me which effect it was, and that would be much nicer. But I can now turn this effect on and off, so I can actually go to it, and you see the purple is turning on, turning off. There we go. You can also edit this, so I can say edit and go back in and go back into the edit. You've got pre or post and we'll get into that in a second. But what we've also got is pedal assign, and this is what happens when you turn this on or off. First of all, you've got toggle or hold. You can have all effects turned off, or you can have just certain effects turned on and off. It's a little bit like the hit button on like a TC Helicon. And then what we can do is I can say, well, only the octave can be toggled on and off. So why don't we have it as on and then toggle, and then that way we can actually go out of there, and then let's go back into effects. And as you can see, the effect is on, but without the octave. It's kind of a dimmer purple, and then as I tap it on, there we go, that effect is on, but I've still got all the other elements that are inside that, so I can turn it on or turn it off depending on what I want. However, this is where it gets a little bit weird, because with the effects system, there's two things that I think personally need changing. So for me, it's one of these things where if I've got it switched off, you can see it's off, and then this is without doing any pedal assigning, and if I turn it on, it's on, and that's pre, whereas post doesn't change the way you're inputting into it like a track effect or an input effect on things like an RC600. What it does is it actually changes the way it's being recorded on the looper. The best way of showcasing this to you is by choosing an effect on a track. So I'm going to actually choose a delay. So for example, if I go into here, let me just pick on delay, and that's fine. Two. So we can hear that is a delay there. Nice and simple. Okay, you can hear the delay coming through. And you can see I'm on pre. If I'm on post, same thing. Let me just turn that off. Now, when we actually record onto the track, which I'm going to do right now, and we're going to turn this effect back on. Hello. Let's record. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. And I stop it. That means that the effect is carrying on regardless of the kind of looper. If I do pre, then it's going to record it in. So if I press this now and go post, let's switch it on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's stop it. You can still hear it. If I go pre and we 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. You can't hear it because I didn't record it in. So I've now cleared that track and I've got this switched off. I've got it on pre, so now I'm going to turn that on and record. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. When I press stop, it's instant. And the reason for that is because how it's pre or posted on the track. Nothing to do with your main output. For me, number one, this is what I'd want changing. I'd want pre to be exactly as you think, like as it is there. But I want post to be the point where if I talk and that's switched on post, you can't hear it. You can only hear it when it's actually playing back on the loop itself. That's what I'd want. The other thing I want as well is I'd want a main effect. So for example, we've got this lovely delay and that's great, but then I turn it off and it's dry. The whole system's dry. I would then have to add a effect like a reverb, for example, something nice and simple, onto one of the tracks and make sure that I'm on that track to be able to hear that reverb. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load up one of my patches that I've created on here. And it's called JP01, which is what I've done on the RC600. So we'll load this up. So I'm going to show you what I've used and how I'm going to loop with this. So we've got a beatboxing sound, and that's on right now. And it just gives it a little bit more oomph. Then we've got the bass. This is the really nice thing about this. I've just moved back over. I then don't have to select the track, go into effects, turn it on, come back out, hit record, then go back into effects, turn it off, and then go to my next thing. Because the effect is tied to the track, I can just go straight to it. It's really cool. I really like that. That's really cool. No matter whether it's pre or post, it'll still do that. And that's really, really handy. I really like that a lot. Then on track 3, I've actually got a chorus. And I've also got harmonies for this one with a cool delay. You'll also notice as well, I've actually got bars. So I've actually preset the bars on this one. So therefore, whatever the beatbox is, that is 1 bar. These will be 4 times longer. Did you you notice that when we got to the end of the bass, it just rolled around? I didn't have to press it because I predetermined what the bars were. Very useful, very easy to set up as well. So to do this, all you do is go into the settings, we go into loop settings, and then we go into track length and quantize. And this is where you can turn around and say what each one is. If you want to keep it free, you can do per track, and you can quantize as well. So if you do turn quantize on, you can dictate by what amount you want to quantize from 1 bar right down to a 16th. I think it's quite useful because if you do hit something within that bar, it will then go, I know that you mean carry on, which is quite useful. So for another example, I've just loaded up another one which I've called Boss Castle. So I'm going to actually create this one for you now. Then what we'll do, imagine I've just recorded the harmonies, which is this cool effect, and then I'm going to actually turn those harmonies off. I'm going to go into mute mode, and I'm going to stay in mute mode for the rest of the track, pretty much. So in mute mode, we turn these off. As the stream turns into ocean, boats rise and they find the tide. Both of them run to each other, but land sees she shortens eyes. Just a quiet and peaceful village, tucked away from the busy lights. They're thrown into the spotlight as the riverbanks lose their fight, yeah. Just need to make sure we move over to this one, which is track 3, a little bit of reverb. Okay. Now what I can do is I can do a nice little drop, or for the second half of a beat, I can take the beat out. You can get really creative. It's so cool. This is what I really like about it. It's the performance elements to keep it really entertaining. Things like the drop stop, as I like to call it. So if I bring everything back in, things like that are really cool. You can do that with 1 foot, just going across. You can obviously take a track out halfway round. So let's take the beat out. And it's just 1 button. I don't have to jump around real quick. Really, really cool. Now, from using the Headrush Looper board, in fact, I did loads of videos for Headrush a couple of years ago. I got used to the looper being in what's known as the wave look. But this time around, I'm really enjoying track view because I don't really need to see the wave format. And the way this has been designed, I can actually still see where I am in the loop. That's really important. There's 2 things to factor into this, and I think actually they're both positive things. One is workflow. You have to accept that this is a different workflow to other loopers. Now, it's not the workflow of the Boss pedals, it's not the workflow of the Singular Sound Eros pedals, it's not the workflow of the Valaton pedals, it's the workflow of Ed Sheeran. It was designed around Ed's workflow. Now, with that comes a little bit of stigmata about it being Ed, and a load of people going out to buy it and then start playing a lot of Ed's songs. That's fine. You're always going to have those people who want to do that, and that's fine. But I know full well I can do my songs on the Sheeran Looper X. In fact, I can improve on my songs because of the mute workflow. There's also that bit where you can go play, put, play, stop, play, stop, play, stop. And you can do that with other loopers, I know you can. But it's also about being A, creative, and B, connecting with the audience. Now, if you want a masterclass of how to use the Sheeran Looper X, Ed Sheeran himself only very recently brought out a live performance using the Looper X for his latest track, As Is Am. There, he's not using the Stadium Looper, he's using the Looper X with an expression pedal. He's even pressing the button on a Looper Plus, but I think he's just using that as a MIDI command. I've got to dive into that one. For those who are gigging musicians, you could replace a lot of pedals with this one looper. And for those who are looking for creativity, you could preload up a load of stuff onto it, and the editing is just so easy. The way the Sheeran Looper X has been elevated to have that slight degrees, so when you press the buttons, it is effortless, to the point where I was using socks. What I would highly recommend to do is create a template. So I've created my JP01 template, and therefore that's kind of my go-to. And then if I make changes to certain things with certain bars or certain harmonies or whatever I'm going to do, I can then save that as something else and then go back to JP01 as opposed to starting all over again with a clear track or new loop. There's a couple of things I'd like just tweaked, and it's mainly to do with the software. The number one thing that's been talked about in all the communities, which I agree with, is the effects. When you have a look at the effects and it says pre and post, that needs to change. So if it is post, you shouldn't be able to hear it while it's coming through the microphone or guitar or keyboards, whatever. It should be track only. So when you record something in, it only plays on the track. That's my personal preference. If it's pre, then yeah, it's pre, and it should be coming through on the inputs. So it's more like input effects and track effects. The other one I want to see is a main effect. So therefore, no matter what you've got on the 4 tracks, if you turn all that off, then I want a reverb. Just a simple reverb to be able to, send out to the PA so it sounds nice. And then that should also be adjustable per input. So not as much reverb on the guitar, but a little bit more on my voice. And this leads me on to my number one concern about how this has been thought about in terms of design. And that is a one system solution. What I mean by this is that when you look at the way Ed loops, the looper that he uses has a separate microphone. I am a one mic looper, so therefore that microphone has got to go into the looper and then come back out again to the PA so you can hear me. If not, then I would use like an AB switcher, or I would use 2 microphones. Now it can be resolved and you can make adjustments, but I think a lot of people plug all their stuff into the Looper X, then they plug the main out to the PA, and if they're not sort of copying how Ed does it with a separate microphone, then this is where people run into problems. However, saying all of this board's fantastic. The way you could communicate with the audience and play around with the loops by muting them, starting them really quickly, double tap for solo, it's awesome. This thing has the potential to change the way you actually think about looping. Not just looping and putting the loops down, but how are you turning them on and off or muting them, and how are you delivering those loops to the audience? Yes, there's a learning curve, and yes, there's a couple of things that could be tweaked, but to be quite honest, I think it's an awesome piece of kit. The 2 things I want them to change hardware-wise if they're going to build another one or the next one is I want to build an expression pedal. I don't see why they couldn't have done that. And the other thing that I want them to change is this. This needs to be internal. It needs to be inside this massive piece of kit, and it then just has a kettle lead to plug directly into it. I think this sort of PC sort of power break is unnecessary. We don't need it, and it could be built into the actual unit. I'm pointing because it's down there. Now, I said at the beginning of the video, I'm going to be making more videos about this. I'm also going to do some live streams with it as well. If you've got questions, if you've got comments, if you've got concerns, then obviously pop them all down in the comment section below. I'll try and answer them as quickly as I can. And join the playlist of the Sheeran Looper X if that's what you're interested in, because all the videos I'll make about it will be in there. Now, if you want to see my follow-up videos for the Sheeran Looper X, if you want to get them early, the other thing you can do is join my membership. There's a YouTube membership you can join, just a little link where it says join next door to subscribe, and therefore you can actually get access to my videos early. Thank you for those who have already joined, because that really helps me and helps the channel out as I'm now diving into doing YouTube full time. So what do you think? If I handed you the Sheeran Looper X, do you think you could use it? I've left links in the description box if you want to go and pick a Sheeran Looper X up to some of the most popular places around the world to try and get you the best price. They are affiliated links which do help out the channel if you do go through them, but of course at no extra cost to you. In fact, I'm trying to save you money, so click those links if you want to grab one, see if you can get yourself a good deal. I think this thing has the potential to change the way people loop, and I think this thing also needs a damn good case to put in it as well. What I really like is the feet, like I have for the Sheeran Looper Plus. And if you want to go and see the Sheeran Looper Plus review, I'm going to leave that here right now. And if you're watching on the playlist, then you're just going to watch the next one about this, because yeah, we're going to go into this deep.